Hey guys, tonight we're going to step into the silent, sealed-off world of a man who owned the sky but chose to live in a box. Imagine you're standing on the Las Vegas Strip, but it's not the one you know. It's the late 1960s. The neon signs hum with a different kind of energy. A mix of old-school glamour and mob-run grit. High above it all, on the 9th floor of the Desert Inn, is a penthouse suite. The curtains are drawn, as they always are. Inside, in the cool, filtered air, a figure watches the world through the hypnotic flicker of a movie screen. That figure is you. You are Howard Hughes, and this is the beginning of the end. A word of warning. The isolation, the crushing weight of your own mind. The bizarre rituals you probably wouldn't survive this. So, before you get too comfortable, please do take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what we do here. We love to see where our stories are reaching, so feel free to post your city and what time it is for you in the comments. Now, dim the light, maybe turn on a fan for some gentle ambient hum, and let's settle in for tonight's journey. The journey didn't begin with a grand entrance. There was no parade, no press conference. It began with a train. You arrive in the dead of a Nevada night, a ghost slipping into a city of spectacle. You're carried on a stretcher, not because you're gravely ill in that moment, but because it's the most efficient way to move you without being seen, a prop in your own disappearing act. The train car, your private rolling fortress, hisses to a stop on a forgotten siding. Your aides, a small, loyal cadre of men who have learned to live by your bewildering set of rules, move with practiced silence. They are your gatekeepers, your protectors, your enablers. They call themselves the Mormon Mafia, a nod to their shared faith and their unwavering, almost monastic devotion to your privacy. You are transferred from the train to a waiting vehicle, shrouded from any prying eyes, and spirited through the back entrances of the Desert Inn. It's a place run by modalists, a name whispered with a certain kind of respect and fear in this town, a remnant of the old guard. But his world and yours are about to collide in a way he could never anticipate. You bypass the clatter of the casino floor, the ringing slot machines, the murmur of high-stakes poker games. You don't see the cocktail waitresses or the lounge singers. You are an invisible current flowing through the hotel's veins, up the service elevator, and into the Desert Inn's premier accommodation, the penthouse. The door closes behind you, and the sound is final. It's the sound of a vault being sealed. This 9th floor suite, with its panoramic views of the glittering city and the vast, dark desert beyond, will become your entire world. But you won't be looking at the view. One of the first orders of business is to ensure the heavy drapes are drawn and secured. Light is an intruder. The outside world is a contaminant. The suite is immediately transformed from a luxurious Vegas crash pad into a hermetically sealed laboratory for your own eccentricities. Your aides know the drill. The phones are secured. The protocols are initiated. This was supposed to be a short stay, maybe 10 days, 2 weeks at most, a little stopover. But you are a man for whom plans are merely suggestions, mutable things that bend to the gravity of your own strange orbit. A common historical fact is that by this point in your life, you were already one of the most famous men in the world, an aviator who broke speed records, a Hollywood producer who challenged the censors, a defense contractor who built futuristic planes. You had dated Katharine Hepburn and Ava Gardner. You had built an empire from the ground up. But that Howard Hughes is a memory, a ghost you've left behind. The man in this room is someone else entirely. Your world has shrunk to the space between these four walls. Your interactions are filtered through memos and telephone calls. Your reality is what you decide it is. And right now, your reality is this dimly lit, climate-controlled suite. The air itself is a subject of intense focus. It must be filtered, purified. It can feel the impurities of the world trying to press in, to seep through the cracks under the door. Your aides begin the meticulous process of sealing every vent and crevice with tape. It's a ritual of protection. Here's a slightly more obscure piece of trivia for you. You had a favorite ice cream, Baskin-Robbins, banana nut, but it had to be specially delivered and stored. And the process of acquiring it was a logistical nightmare for your staff, a covert operation for a pint of frozen dessert. You settle into the soft cushions of a chair, the one you will occupy for countless hours. The silence is broken only by the hum of the air conditioning unit, a sound that will become the soundtrack to your new life. You've brought your own film projector and a collection of prints. The silver screen will be your window, your companion, your sun and moon. The plan is for 2 weeks. But as you sit there in the manufactured twilight of your penthouse kingdom, a different kind of timetable begins to stretch out before you. 2 weeks can become a month. A month can become a year. A year can become a lifetime. Historians still debate the precise trigger for this final, complete withdrawal from society. Was it the chronic pain from multiple plane crashes, the escalating obsessive-compulsive disorder, or was it a conscious, calculated decision to shed the skin of public life and become a master puppeteer from behind the ultimate curtain? Whatever the reason, you are here now. The door is locked. The drapes are drawn. Welcome to the Desert Inn. Your stay is just beginning. The days bleed into one another, a seamless loop of movies, memos, and carefully prepared meals. Your 10-day reservation has stretched into a month. then two, then several. Outside your sealed suite, the desert inn continues to function. The casino buzzes, guests come and go, and the management is growing. Impatient, high rollers are clamoring for the penthouse suite, especially with the lucrative New Year's holiday approaching. Modalitz and his partners want their best rooms back. They assumed they were hosting a billionaire for a brief holiday. They did not realize they had acquired a permanent, invisible tenant. So, they do what any hotelier would do. They send you a polite but firm request to leave. An eviction notice dressed up in the language of hospitality. The request arrives not as a letter slid under your door. Nothing is ever that simple or direct. It comes through your chain of command, a message passed to your chief aide, who then relays it to you. You are sitting in your usual chair, the flicker of the movie projector playing across your face. The idea of leaving is absurd. Leaving means exposure. It means logistics, contamination, unpredictability. You have tailored its environment to your exact specifications. To leave would be to re-enter a world that no longer makes sense to you, a world teeming with germs and obligations. The request is not just an inconvenience. It is a fundamental threat to your existence. Your response is not to pack your bags. It is not to negotiate a longer stay. Your response is pure, uncut Howard Hughes. If they want you to leave the hotel, you will simply buy the hotel. The thought process is swift, logical, and from any other human being on earth, completely insane. It's the ultimate "I'd like to speak to the manager" power move, except you don't speak to the manager. You buy him. You buy the building he works in, the land it sits on, and the casino chips in his customers' pockets. You instruct your aides to open negotiations with Dalits. Just like that. The news sends a shockwave through the Las Vegas establishment. These casino bosses aren't used to being pushed around. They are tough, shrewd men, many with deep and complicated ties to organized crime. A popular historical fact is that much of early Las Vegas was funded and built by mob money, making it a city where deals were often sealed with a handshake and a threat. But they have never encountered a foe like you. You don't meet in smoky back rooms. You don't make threats. You just send polite men in suits with an offer of money, an obscene amount of money. Dalits and his partners are caught off guard. They try to refuse, to intimidate, but you have two things they uncompete with: near limitless capital and a complete lack of interest in playing by their rules. You are a phantom. How do you intimidate a man you can't see, a man who communicates only through proxies and who clearly is unmotivated by the same things they are? Your offer is 13.2 million. It's a fair price, perhaps even a generous one. But the audacity of the move is what's truly staggering. While they deliberate, you remain in the penthouse, watching another movie, unperturbed. The battle for the hotel is happening floors below you, in boardrooms and back offices, but you are serenely detached. The eye of your own hurricane. Here's a curious, lesser-known tidbit about this transaction. Because you refuse to appear in person for fingerprinting or to have a photograph taken for the gaming license application, the Nevada authorities had to make an unprecedented exception. The governor, Paul Laxalt, intervened, arguing that forcing you to appear would scare away other legitimate corporate investors. The very thing the state wanted to attract to clean up the mob's influence. So you became the first person to get a Nevada gaming license without ever showing your face. Your invisibility was now state-sanctioned. The deal goes through. You are now the owner of the Desert Inn. The eviction notice is moot. You are no longer a guest. You are the landlord. Your Mormon mafia now answers to you, not just as a personal employer, but as the corporate head of the establishment. The hotel staff, from the pit bosses to the cleaning crews, now work for an invisible boss who never leaves the 9th floor. It's a dynamic that shifts the entire power structure of the property. Your whims are no longer the eccentricities of a wealthy customer. They are the policies of the owner. Historians still debate whether this was a premeditated strategy to enter the casino business or simply an impulsive, albeit brilliant, solution to the immediate problem of being asked to leave. Did you see a future in corporate gaming in Vegas? A chance to scrub the mob's influence and reshape the city in your own image? Or did you just really not want to have to pack? The truth is likely a combination of both. Your mind worked on multiple levels at once, solving a microscopic personal problem with a macroscopic financial maneuver. The result is the same. You have your fortress. The curtains remain drawn. The projector keeps humming. But now, when you look out at the city, or rather, when you imagine the city beyond your blackout curtains, you don't just see the lights of the strip. You see a kingdom, and you've just acquired the castle. Now that you own the hotel, your environment can be controlled with absolute authority. Your personal space, already a sanctuary, becomes a temple to your obsessions. And the chief deity you worship here is the god of sterility. Your germophobia, a lifelong companion, now blossoms in this sealed penthouse. Unconstrained by the judgment or logic of the outside world, it dictates every action, every interaction, every object that crosses the threshold of your suite. A complex, unwritten scripture of sanitation governs this small world, and your aides are its devout disciples. Everything that enters your room must undergo a purification ritual. Letters, documents, newspapers, they are handled only by a trusted few. Your world is divided into zones. A contaminated outer zone and a sterile inner sanctum. An aide must wash his hands for several minutes using a specific type of soap and a prescribed scrubbing motion before he can handle an object destined for you, who has also undergone the cleansing ritual, creating a sterile chain of custody. It's like a high-stakes game of hot potato, but the potato is a copy of the Wall Street Journal, and the penalty for dropping it is your spiraling, silent wrath. The most iconic artifact of this period is the simple Kleenex box. It is not merely a tissue for you. It is a tool, a barrier, an extension of your own skin. You use tissues to touch anything and everything. The remote control for the projector, the telephone, a spoon. You create what your aides call Kleenex box shoes, placing your feet in empty boxes to walk across a carpet you deem unclean. You insulate yourself from the world with layers of delicate, disposable paper. Every object you touch is handled through a protective sheath of tissue, which is then immediately discarded. A single Kleenex box becomes a tiny, paper-thin coffin for the germs it has vanquished. Your aides are given memos, not just notes, but voluminous, single-spaced documents detailing your requirements with the precision of a NASA engineer. These memos are a window into the intricate clockwork of your mind. They contain instructions on how to open the door. Use a tissue, turn the knob, use another tissue to pull the door, discard both. How to deliver your food, place it on a specific spot, on a table, retreat, without turning your back. And most famously, how to open a can of fruit. This is a well-documented historical fact. One memo gave a multi-step procedure for opening a can of peaches, involving sterilizing the can opener, washing the outside of the can, removing the label, and using second sterilized opener to make the final cut, all to prevent any speck of dust or ink from the label from contaminating the sacred fruit within. It's less a recipe, more a religious ceremony. You devise a system of communication that minimizes physical proximity. Aides are often not allowed in the same room with you. They leave items in an adjacent room. You retrieve them, and then they return to collect what you've left. It's an airlock system designed for a single astronaut on a planet of one. The irony is that you, a man who designed some of the most complex aircraft in history, are now dedicating that same brilliant, detail-oriented mind to the logistics of avoiding a doorknob. It's a bit like using a supercomputer to play tic-tac-toe. Let's add a more obscure detail to this picture. Your fear wasn't just of germs, but of the appearance of illness in others. Your aides were under strict orders to not cough or sneeze in your presence. If they felt even the slightest tickle in their throat, they were to leave immediately. One aide reportedly had to excuse himself mid-sentence and sprint from the suite to avoid sneezing, the sound of which would have been a sonic boom of contamination in your silent world. They lived in a constant state of high alert, monitoring their own bodies as closely as they monitored yours. The suite is kept at a frigid temperature, another one of your preferences, believed to inhibit the growth of bacteria. You are often unclothed, a strange, pale figure in the chilly, artificial twilight of the room. The air is so dry and cold that your skin cracks. But this discomfort is preferable to the perceived threat of microscopic invaders. You have created a perfect, sterile, unchanging environment. It is safe. It is predictable. It is a prison of your own design. Historians still debate the origins and progression of your condition, now widely believed to be a severe form of obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD. They question whether the multiple head injuries you sustained in plane crashes exacerbated a pre-existing condition, or if the immense pressures of your life and an innate predisposition simply spiraled out of control. Was there a single traumatic event, perhaps an illness in your childhood, that planted the seed of this crippling phobia? Or was it a slow, creeping vine that gradually overtook the garden of your mind? There are no easy answers. All that is certain is what's happening now in this room. The endless hand-washing, the carefully handled cans of peaches, the little paper shoes. This is your reality. This is the fortress you have built, not just of walls and windows, but of ritual and fear. From this sealed command center on the 9th floor, you become something new, the invisible billionaire. It's a paradox. You are more powerful than ever, yet physically, you are a ghost. You wield immense influence over global industries, aviation, movies, real estate, manufacturing, all without leaving your chair. Your only connection to this vast empire, your only tool for bending the world to your will, is the telephone. That simple device, cleaned with a tissue before you'll touch it, becomes your scepter. Your days, and more often your nights, are a whirlwind of phone calls. You are a notorious insomniac, your body clock completely detached from the rhythms of the sun you never see. You'll call executives at TWA, the airline you still largely controlled, at 3 a.m., demanding intricate details about flight schedules or engine maintenance. You'll dictate fiery, rambling memos to your lawyers in Houston, outlining strategies for lawsuits or corporate takeovers. You'll orchestrate multi-million-dollar deals with the same casual tone someone might use to order a pizza. Your voice, thin and reedy, travels across telephone lines, a disembodied command that sets armies of lawyers, accountants, and executives into motion. They never see you. They only hear the voice and see the results. The signed contracts, the transferred funds, the purchased properties. This invisibility becomes your greatest asset and your most potent defense. For years, you have been hounded by process servers, lawyers, and government officials trying to force you to testify in various legal battles. Most notably, the long-running antitrust suit over your control of TWA. By vanishing from public view, you become legally untouchable. How can they serve a subpoena to a man who doesn't exist in any physical place? You are everywhere in the world of business, your name on buildings and company letterheads, but you are nowhere to be found. It's the ultimate legal loophole. You can be compelled to appear in court if no one can find the door to your courtroom. A common historical fact is that your business empire, Hughes Tool Company, was the central hub of your wealth. This incredibly profitable manufacturer of oil drilling equipment was the cash machine that funded everything else: the movies, the planes, and now your ever-expanding Las Vegas portfolio. It was a private company, meaning you answered to no board of directors and no shareholders. The profits flowed directly to you, providing a seemingly endless river of cash to fund your whims. But here is a weirder aspect of your invisible management style. You would often use code names and insist on elaborate, almost spy novel-like communication protocols with your top executives. You might refer to yourself as the man or another alias, and your people had to be able to recognize your voice and authenticate that it was really you on the line. They were sworn to secrecy, creating an inner circle that was part corporate team, part secret society. Imagine being a high-powered CEO and having to explain to your family why you have to take a call at 4 a.m. from a man you've never met who calls himself Mr. Gomez and wants to discuss the purchase of a silver mine. It's a surreal way to run a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. Your aides, the Mormon Mafia, are the physical conduits for your will. They are the ones who place the calls, deliver the messages, and handle the physical paperwork. They are your hands and feet in the outside world. Their loyalty is absolute, and their discretion is legendary. They are paid handsomely for their trouble, but the job is unlike any other. They must be available 24/7, ready to cater to your every bizarre request. From sourcing a specific brand of chocolate bar in the middle of the night to facilitating the purchase of a television station. They live in a state of suspended animation, their lives revolving entirely around the silent, darkened room at the end of the hall. You are acutely aware of the image you are creating. The mystery, the rumors, the legends, they all work in your favor. The less people know, the more they speculate, and the more powerful you seem. You are becoming a myth in your own lifetime. People whisper that you're dead, that you're hideously disfigured, that you're a captive. None of it matters. The only thing that matters is that the checks clear and the phone calls are answered. You're like the Wizard of Oz, a small, frail man behind a curtain, projecting a terrifying and powerful image to the outside world. And just like in Oz, no one is allowed to see the man behind the curtain. It's a bit like being the ultimate catfish, except instead of faking a profile picture, you're faking your entire physical existence to run a global financial empire. Historians still debate how much of your reclusion was a calculated business strategy versus a symptom of your deteriorating mental health. Were you a brilliant manipulator using your eccentricities as a shield to avoid legal and public accountability? Or were you a profoundly ill man whose business acumen continued to function at a high level despite your personal torment? It's the central question of your later years. Are you a captive or a king? A prisoner of your own mind, or the architect of the most secure fortress ever built? In this room, with the phone in your hand, you are somehow both at the same time. Owning the Desert Inn was not an end goal. It was a beginning. The purchase has given you a taste for a new kind of power. From your 9th floor perch, you begin to look at the rest of Las Vegas not as a cityscape, but as a game board. And you are ready to play. You embark on an unprecedented shopping spree, one that will permanently alter the trajectory of the city. The mob built this town, but you are about to begin the process of buying them out, piece by glittering piece. Your method is simple and devastatingly effective. You identify a target, another casino, a vacant plot of land, a hotel land. You make an offer they can't refuse. Your primary weapon is cash. While the mob-room casinos are built on skimmed profits and complicated loans, you operate with the clean, overwhelming force of legitimate capital from the Hughes tool company. You send your agents, your clean-cut Mormon mafia, to make the offers. There are no threats, no intimidation, just a briefcase full of money and a purchase agreement. It's a corporate takeover of a city built on street smarts. Your next major acquisition is the Sands Hotel and Casino. This is an iconic property, the legendary home of the Rat Pack Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr. It's the epitome of Vegas cool, a place of glamour, celebrity, and deeply entrenched mob connections. Buying the Sands isn't just a real estate transaction. It's a statement. You are supplanting the old guard. A popular historical fact from this era is that the Rat Pack's performances at the Sands Copa Room were a defining cultural touchstone of the early 1960s, establishing Las Vegas as a premier entertainment destination. Now, their playground belongs to you. The shopping continues at a dizzying pace. You acquire the castaways, the new frontier, the silver slipper, the landmark. You buy Harold's Club in Reno. You snap up vast tracts of undeveloped land, envisioning a future for Las Vegas that extends far beyond the Strip. Your vision is different from the mob's. You see a cleaner, more corporate, more respectable version of the city. You want to transform it from a den of vice into a family-friendly tourist destination. A kind of desert Disneyland run with corporate efficiency. It's a deeply ironic goal for a man living in a single room, surrounded by his own bodily waste and old movie reels, but the grandiosity of the vision is undeniable. You manage this entire spree from your dark room. You study maps and financial reports, plotting your next move. The city of Las Vegas is an abstract concept to you, a collection of assets and liabilities on a ledger sheet. You never walk the casino floors you own, never see the shows, never meet the thousands of people who are now your employees. You are the city's biggest player, its most powerful landlord, and you haven't felt the Nevada sun on your skin in years. It's like playing a game of Monopoly with real buildings, and you're determined to own everything from Boardwalk to Park Place. Here's an obscure but revealing detail about your acquisitions. You also purchased a small local airline, Alamo Airways. This wasn't a play for the commercial airline market. It was a strategic move to gain control of the land it occupied, the airport. You understood that to control a city, you need to control its gateways. By owning the airport and prime real estate all over the valley, you were positioning yourself to be the master of Las Vegas's future growth. Your thinking was always 10 steps ahead, even when you couldn't take a single step out of your room. The old guard doesn't know what to do with you. They can't compete with your money, and they can't get to you personally. Rumors fly. One story goes that Frank Sinatra, angry that his line of credit at the Sands was cut off after you bought it, stormed the casino and had a major confrontation with the new management. He couldn't confront you, the man responsible, because you were a phantom. You were immune to the old Vegas rules of charisma and muscle. You were changing the game, and the old players were being pushed off the board. Your aides are run ragged, shuttling between your penthouse and meetings with lawyers and casino managers. They are negotiating 9-figure deals based on your late-night, sometimes incoherent telephone instructions. They are the public face of a faceless empire. The strain on them is immense, but their loyalty holds. They are the architects of your new Las Vegas, building a city according to the blueprint whispered to them through a telephone receiver. Historians still debate your ultimate motivation for this Las Vegas buying spree. Was it a genuine, forward-thinking business plan to create a new, corporate-run gambling mecca? Or was it the manic phase of a brilliant but unstable mind? a billionaire's obsessive need to collect and control everything he could see from his window, even if he never actually looked out the window. Were you a visionary city builder or a hoarder playing with hotels instead of newspapers? The line between the two seems to blur somewhere on the 9th floor of the desert in Ni. In the cold, dark, silent air of your self-made kingdom, while your empire expands across the desert floor below, your personal world shrinks to the size of a movie screen. The projector is your constant companion, its worry a familiar lullaby, its beam of light the only star in your perpetual night. You have become a connoisseur of repetition, a monk in a monastery of celluloid. You don't just watch movies, you absorb them, memorize them, and inhabit them. This becomes your primary activity, the central ritual of your secluded life, taking precedence over everything except the most urgent business calls. Your aides are tasked with an endless quest to procure prints of every movie you might want to watch. They have to find them, ship them, and have them ready to be threaded into the projector at a moment's notice. You have your favorites, of course. You watch old classics, forgotten B movies, and modern blockbusters. The films are a tether to the outside world you've rejected, a curated, predictable version of reality that you can pause, rewind, and replay at will. Unlike life, a movie always has the same ending. There is a profound comfort in that certainty. And then there is the movie, the one that becomes your obsession. Ice Station Zebra, a 1968 Cold War thriller starring Rock Hudson. It's a story of espionage, submarines, and Arctic adventure. For reasons no one can fully fathom, this film captivates you. You watch it again and again and again. Aides estimate you watched it over 150 times. It becomes a permanent fixture, the house movie of your penthouse cinema. The dialogue becomes a script you know by heart. The flickering images of the nuclear submarine and the Arctic ice floes become as familiar as the walls of your room. The request to see Ice Station Zebra can come at any time, day or night. The aide on duty must be ready to drop everything, fetch the heavy film canisters, and start the show. The movie runs, filling the silent room with the sounds of adventure and intrigue. A stark contrast to the stasis of your own life. You sit in your chair, motionless, watching Rock Hudson save the world from nuclear annihilation, while your own world is a carefully controlled bubble of sterile air and tissue boxes. Maybe you identify with the isolation of the submarine crew, deep beneath the polar ice cap. Maybe you enjoy the clear lines between good and evil, a simplicity your own complicated life has never afforded. Or maybe your mind has simply locked onto it the way it locks onto a fear of germs or a specific way to open a can. A common historical fact is that you owned your own movie studio, RKO Pictures, for a time. Your period as a Hollywood mogul was famously tumultuous, marked by battles with censors over films like The Outlaw, and a reputation for meddling in the creative process. You were a man who loved the mechanics and glamour of filmmaking. So, your retreat into being a passive viewer is a poignant, ironic chapter in that story. You've gone from creating the images to being consumed by them. Here's a lesser-known fact that deepens the strangeness of this period. Because you owned a local Las Vegas television station, KLAS-TV, if you decided you wanted to watch a movie that wasn't in your personal collection, you would simply order the station to broadcast it. The entire Las Vegas Valley's late-night programming would be dictated by the whim of an invisible man in a hotel room. Imagine being a shift worker in Vegas, settling in to watch The Late Show, only to find the schedule has been abruptly changed to a random film noir from 1948 because Howard Hughes felt like watching it. You are, quite literally, programming the city's dreams. It's like having the world's most powerful remote control. This constant movie watching is more than just a hobby. It is a form of self-medication. The films drown out the noise in your head. They provide a structured narrative in a life that has lost its own. The screen is a portal, but it's a safe one. You can visit the Arctic, fight in World War II, or fall in love in a Parisian cafe, all without ever having to leave the safety of your chair. The world of the film is predictable and clean. The hero always wins. The story resolves. A perfect antidote to the chaotic, contaminated world outside. Historians still debate the psychological significance of your obsession with Ice Station Zebra. Was it a manifestation of your OCD, a classic example of compulsive repetition? Was there something in the film's plot about secrecy, technology, and high-stakes conflict that resonated with your own life as a defense contractor and Cold War player? Or was it simply a mental glitch, a feedback loop in a brilliant mind beginning to fray at the edges? Whatever the reason, the image is indelible. The world's richest and most mysterious man. Alone in the dark, finding solace in the endlessly repeating adventure of a submarine crew at the top of the world. The projector whirs on another screening begins, and for the next 2.5 hours, you are safe. As the years in the penthouse accumulate, the controlled environment begins to have a profound and visible effect on your physical body. Your retreat from the world is not just social and psychological. It is corporeal. You are a man who once graced magazine covers, a handsome, dashing pilot and playboy. But that man is long gone. replaced by a strange, wraith-like figure who haunts the 9th floor of the desert inn. Your physical decline is a direct reflection of your mental state. A slow-motion collapse shielded from public view. You stop cutting your hair and nails. This is not a fashion statement. It's a product of your phobias. The idea of a barber or a manicurist with their sharp, potentially contaminated tools touching you is unthinkable. So, your hair grows long and thin, cascading over your shoulders and down your back. Your fingernails and toenails grow into long yellowed talons, curving into grotesque spirals. They click on the floor when you walk, a sound that echoes in the silent suite. You are transforming into a caricature of a hermit, a figure from a forgotten fairy tale, locked away in a tower of your own making. Your diet is as strange and restrictive as every other aspect of your life. You subsist on a very limited menu of foods you deem safe. Steak cooked exactly to your specifications, chicken, and your beloved chocolate bars and milk. For a time, you drink almost nothing but milk, convinced of its purity. You avoid anything with complex ingredients or unpredictable textures. This is not the diet of a gourmand, but of a man for whom food is not a source of pleasure, but a potential vector for contamination. Your aides become short order cooks in a bazaar, a customer restaurant where the menu never changes. This severely limited diet, combined with your complete lack of exercise and sunlight, causes your body to waste away. You are over 6 feet tall, but your weight plummets. Your frame becomes gaunt and skeletal. Your skin, never seeing the sun, takes on a pale, almost translucent quality. You are fading, becoming as much a phantom in body as you are in spirit. The chronic pain from your numerous plane crashes is a constant companion, managed with heavy doses of codeine and other painkillers. You exist in a hazy, medicated twilight, drifting between movie-induced stupors and drug-fueled wakefulness. A common historical fact is that you survived several horrific plane crashes, including one in Beverly Hills in 1946 that was nearly fatal. You suffered a crushed collarbone, multiple cracked ribs, a collapsed lung, and third-degree burns. You were never the same physically after that crash, and the chronic pain it left you with is seen by many as a major factor in your later drug dependency and reclusiveness. But here is a more bizarre, less known detail about your peculiar eating habits. You once went on a phase where you would only eat peas for dinner, but you insisted that your aides sort them by size on the plate before serving them to you. The small peas had to be separated from the medium peas, which had to be separated from the large peas. It's a perfect illustration of your obsessive mind at work, imposing a rigid, nonsensical order on even the most mundane aspects of existence. It's not about nutrition. It's about control. It's the kind of thing that might be funny if it weren't so deeply sad. You spend most of your time unclothed in the frigid, air-conditioned suite. Your long, thin body is often propped up in your reclining chair or lying in bed. You are an organism perfectly adapted to this strange, artificial environment you've created. You are the sole specimen in a human terrarium. Your aides are the keepers, monitoring your vital signs from a distance, documenting your decline in their logs, and following your increasingly erratic instructions. They are witnessing the slow-motion disintegration of a titan, and they are powerless to stop it. To intervene would be to break the cardinal rule. Never question, never challenge, just obey. Historians still debate the extent to which your physical state was known to your corporate subordinates outside the immediate inner circle. Did the executives taking your 3 a.m. phone calls about airline routes have any idea that the powerful voice on the other end belonged to a skeletal man with foot-long fingernails? Or was the secret of your condition perfectly kept by the Mormon Mafia, preserving the illusion of the powerful, if eccentric, tycoon? The disconnect between your potent, disembodied voice on the telephone and your fragile, decaying physical form is perhaps the most stunning paradox of your life. You are a king whose kingdom is a sickbed, an emperor whose only robes are his own matted hair. The body that once broke aviation records and embraced Hollywood starlets is now a prison. Within a prison, a final, inescapable layer of confinement. Your desire for absolute control over your environment eventually extends beyond the 4 walls of your penthouse suite. It reaches out into the invisible world of the airwaves. Your late-night movie marathons are a fixture of your existence, but you are limited by your personal film collection and the physical labor of your aides changing the reels. There is a more efficient way. Your gaze, metaphorical though it may be, turns to the local television affiliate in Las Vegas, KLAS-TV. Channel 8. You decide you want it. The logic is, in its own way, impeccable. If you own the television station, you control the broadcast schedule. If you control the broadcast schedule, you can watch any movie you want, whenever you want, without having to bother with projectors and film prints. The entire station becomes your personal VCR. It is another instance of you applying a multi-million-dollar sledgehammer solution to a problem that, for anyone else, would be a minor inconvenience. It's the ultimate expression of channel surfing. Don't like what's on? Just buy the channel. The process begins, as all your ventures do, with a phone call in the middle of the night. Owner Hank Greenspun the publisher of the Las Vegas Sun newspaper. Greenspun is a tough, old-school newspaperman, not easily intimidated. Initially, he resists. He doesn't want to sell. But you are persistent, and you have an effectively bottomless well of money. You keep increasing the offer, applying the slow, crushing pressure of your wealth. The negotiations are a strange affair. Greenspun never meets you. He deals only with your emissaries, Robert Maheu and the other members of your inner circle. They are acting on instructions from a man they can't see, who is sitting in a hotel room just a few blocks away. The whole city is your chessboard, and you move your pieces from the shadows. Eventually, the price becomes too good to refuse. Greenspun sells for a sum of around $3.6 million. You, Howard Hughes, are the new owner of KLA's TV. Immediately, the station's programming, particularly its late-night schedule, begins to reflect the bizarre tastes of its new, invisible owner. The staff at KLA's are bewildered. They receive their programming instructions from your aides at the desert in a memo might arrive, or a phone call instructing them to cancel the scheduled syndicated talk show and instead air a specific Western from the 1940s. Or, of course, iStation Zebra. The station's library is scoured for films, and new prints are acquired to satisfy your every cinematic whim. The on-air staff have to apologize to their viewers for the sudden, unexplained changes. Experiencing technical difficulties becomes a euphemism for Mr. Hughes wants to watch a different movie. This is a well-documented historical fact. Your ownership of KLAS led to what locals called the Howard Hughes Film Festival. The station would often run old movies, sometimes the same one on a loop. Throughout the night and into the early morning, long after other stations had signed off with the national anthem, you were creating your own 24/7 streaming service. Decades before the invention of Netflix. Now for a more obscure tidbit related to your media ownership. Your control of the station wasn't just for entertainment. You also used it to influence local news coverage. You were intensely private and paranoid about your image. By owning a primary news source in the city, you could ensure that any coverage of your activities was either non-existent or favorable. You could effectively erase yourself from the local news cycle, further deepening the mystery surrounding your presence in the city. It was a tool for both amusement and propaganda. The purchase of KLAS TV marks a new level of your power. You are no longer just controlling your physical space. You are controlling the information and entertainment that flows into the homes of hundreds of thousands of people. You are a ghost in the machine, a literal deus ex machina, altering the narrative of the entire city from your dark room. It's a testament to your belief that anything can be acquired and bent to your will. Whether it's a casino a politician, or the electromagnetic spectrum. Historians still debate whether the acquisition of KLAs was primarily a business move to expand your media holdings, or simply the ultimate indulgence of a reclusive cinephile. Was it part of a larger strategy to control information in the state, where you were rapidly becoming the largest employer and landowner? Or was it truly just about being able to watch Ice Station Zebra at 4 a.m. without having to ask an aide to change the reels? As with everything in your life, the line between strategic genius and obsessive compulsion is impossibly thin. The people of Las Vegas may not have known it, but for a few strange years. The Sandman who brought them their late-night dreams was a gaunt, long-haired billionaire watching the same broadcast from a penthouse just up the street. Even in your self-imposed isolation, the outside world occasionally manages to pierce your sterile bubble in ways you cannot ignore. One of these intrusions comes not in the form of a germ or a process server, but as a tremor that shakes the very foundations of your hotel. It's the 1960s and 70s, the height of the Cold War. And just 65 miles northwest of Las Vegas lies the Nevada test site. This is where the Atomic Energy Commission conducts its underground nuclear weapons tests. The tests are a regular occurrence, rattling windows and nerves across the state. And you, the world's most famous germaphobe, are about to become fixated on a new, invisible threat: radioactive fallout. The irony is staggering. You have spent years building a fortress against microscopic bacteria, only to discover that the government is detonating nuclear bombs in your backyard. You become convinced that the underground tests are venting radioactive particles into the atmosphere, which are then being sucked into the air conditioning system of the desert in, contaminating your purified sanctuary. The faint rumble of a distant detonation is, to you, a profound violation. It is the ultimate loss of control. This fear galvanizes you. It stirs something dormant inside you, a flicker of the old Howard Hughes, the public figure, the crusader, the man who took on the United States Senate. You decide you must stop the tests. From your darkened room, you launch a one-man war against the U.S. nuclear program. You cannot protest in the streets, of course. You cannot hold a press conference. You do it the only way you know how, with memos, phone calls, and money. You dictate long, passionate, sometimes rambling memos to your aides, outlining the dangers of the tests. You order them to lobby Nevada's politicians, from the governor down to state assemblymen. You use your immense financial leverage as the state's largest private employer. You threaten to move all of your businesses, the casinos, the airport, the land holdings out of Nevada, if the tests are not stopped. It is a massive game of chicken played by a man who no one ever sees. Your aides, led by your chief of staff, Robert Maheu, become your reluctant army in this strange environmental crusade. They meet with senators and scientists, armed with your bizarre handwritten notes and your limitless checkbook. A common historical fact is that the United States conducted over 900 nuclear tests at the Nevada test site between 1951 and 1992. The mushroom clouds from the early atmospheric tests were visible from Las Vegas, and the city even marketed them as a tourist attraction, a strange footnote in the history of atomic age tourism. By your time, the tests were underground, but no less powerful. Here's a more obscure piece of this story. Your campaign was surprisingly effective, at least for a while. You managed to get several tests postponed, frustrating officials at the Atomic Energy Commission and the Pentagon. They couldn't understand how this eccentric, invisible billionaire was managing to interfere with a top priority national security program. You even tried to appeal directly to Presidents Lyndon B. Johnson and Richard Nixon, sending messages through intermediaries. At one point, you offered a blank check bribe to the presidents if they would move the test site. It was a naive but audacious attempt to solve a geopolitical problem with cash. Your new obsession with nuclear fallout provides a fascinating contrast to your other phobias. You are terrified of the germs on a doorknob, but you are willing to take on the entire military-industrial complex over the issue of radiation. It shows that your mind, while trapped in obsessive loops, is still capable of grand-scale thinking and strategic action. You are not just a passive victim of your illness. You are an active, if deeply strange, participant in the world. Essentially, the world's first billionaire eco-warrior. But your activism is driven by a deeply personal and paranoid fear rather than a purely altruistic concern for mankind. A bit like starting a global recycling program. Because you're worried a specific bottle might have touched your lunch. Historians still debate the true nature of your anti-nuclear campaign. Was it a genuine, if eccentric, burst of civic-mindedness and environmental concern? Or was it simply the ultimate NIMB? Why not in my backyard protest? A powerful man using his influence to protect his own personal space from a perceived threat, with little regard for the national security implications. It's also possible that the fight was a welcome distraction, a grand project to focus your formidable intellect on. A battle against a clear and present enemy that was more tangible than the germs only you could see in the end. You cannot stop the testing. The forces of national security are more powerful than even your billions. The tests continue, but your campaign is a remarkable episode. For a brief time, the invisible billionaire of the Desert Inn became the nation's most powerful and strangest. Anti-nuclear activist. It was a fight you waged from the shadows, a war of whispers and memos, a testament to the fact that even in your darkest, most isolated moments, you still believed you could bend the world to your will. Just when it seems you have perfected your invisibility, a threat emerges that you cannot defeat with money or memos. It's a threat to the one thing you have left, your name. In 1971, the world is electrified by news that a major publisher, McGraw-Hill, is about to release the authorized autobiography of Howard Hughes, written by an author named Clifford Irving. The book promises to tell all, to finally pull back the curtain on the world's most enigmatic man, based on extensive in-person interviews. The news is a global sensation. The only problem is, it's a complete and total lie. You never met Clifford Irving. You never spoke to him. The autobiography is a fraud dot from inside your penthouse. The news of this book is an attack of an entirely new kind. Someone has stolen your life story. They have fabricated your voice. For a man obsessed with controlling his own narrative and environment, this is the ultimate violation. All your efforts to disappear, to become a myth, are being undone by a charlatan. Your carefully constructed silence is being filled with another man's words. You are enraged. This forgery, this ghostwriting of your life, is an impurity that cannot be scrubbed away with soap or sealed out with tape. Initially, you try to fight it from the shadows, as you always do. You have your lawyers at Hughes Tool Company issue a statement declaring the book a hoax. But Irving is clever. He has produced forged letters in your handwriting, and he tells a convincing story. He claims that you, the reclusive billionaire, are trying to back out of the deal. The publisher, having already paid a massive advance, chooses to believe Irving. The world, hungry for any scrap of information about you, is inclined to believe him too. Your usual methods aren't working. Denials from your lawyers are seen as just another layer of the mystery. The situation becomes a global media circus. For you, it's a nightmare. The only way to kill the lie is to do the one thing you have avoided for over a decade: emerge. Not physically, of course. That is still out of the question. But you must use your own voice. You must speak to the world directly, in a way that cannot be denied. The decision is made to arrange a conference call with a group of trusted journalists, reporters who have covered you for years and would recognize your voice. The logistics are planned with the secrecy of a military operation. The 7 journalists are gathered in a hotel conference room in Los Angeles. They are told they will be participating in an unprecedented event. On the other end of the line, in a location that is not revealed to them, is you. You are speaking from your new sanctuary, as you had recently moved from Las Vegas to the Bahamas. The connection is made. The reporters ask their questions, testing you, probing for proof that you are who you say you are. And you talk. For over 2 hours, your thin, reedy voice, unheard by the public for 15 years, fills the room. You are lucid, intelligent, and angry. You talk about the old days, about flying, about movies. You recall specific dates, names, and technical details with stunning accuracy, things that only the real Howard Hughes would know. You categorically deny the Irving autobiography. I don't know him. I never saw him, you say. This is a really fantastic yarn. A well-known historical fact is that this teleconference was the definitive event that exposed the Clifford Irving hoax. Hearing your voice answering specific questions with such clarity was undeniable proof. Irving's elaborate fantasy fell apart, and he and his accomplices would eventually go to prison. Here's a lesser known and somewhat poignant detail from that call. One of the reporters who had known you in your younger days asked about your reclusiveness, asking if you were happy. You responded in a halting, sad way, saying, "I'm not on top of the world. I'll tell you that ... And then, when asked if you were in good physical condition, you lied, claiming you were, even though you were a skeletal wreck. It was a moment where the powerful myth and the frail man behind it were in stark, audible conflict. The conference call is a triumph. You have proven you are alive. You have defended your name. You have slain the dragon of the fake autobiography. But it comes at a cost. You have had to breach your own solitude. You have had to engage with the world in a direct, unscripted way. For a few hours, you were Howard Hughes, again, the public figure. The effort leaves you exhausted. After the call, you retreat even deeper into your shell. You have won the battle, but the war for your own privacy and peace of mind is a draining, endless one. Historians still debate the long-term impact of the Clifford Irving affair on your psyche. Did the violation of having your identity stolen push you further into paranoia and isolation? Or did the act of publicly defending yourself, of speaking out and being believed, provide a momentary sense of empowerment and connection? It forced you to confront the world's perception of you, a perception that had been allowed to fester and mutate in the vacuum of your silence. For a brief moment, the ghost in the machine had to prove he was real, and in doing so, he reminded the world, and perhaps himself, of the formidable man who still existed somewhere inside that dark, lonely room. Your victory over Clifford Irving is decisive, but the episode leaves you rattled. The world has pressed in too close. Your fortress in Las Vegas, once so secure, now feels exposed. The Nevada politicians, once so pliable, are starting to push back against your influence. The state gaming authorities are making noise about you needing to renew your license in person. The walls are closing in. It is time to disappear again. This time, the destination is the Britannia Beach Hotel in the Bahamas. The operation is codenamed the Baja Blitz. It happens, as always, in the dead of night. Your tenure at the Desert Inn, which began over 4 years earlier with a 10-day reservation, comes to an end. You are once again placed on a stretcher, a frail, emaciated figure. Hidden beneath blankets, you weigh less than 100 pounds. Your long hair and beard are matted. You are a king abdicating his throne, smuggled out of your own castle through the fire escape. The Mormon Mafia executes the plan with military precision. They create diversions to distract the hotel staff and any potential media. One team handles your physical removal, carrying you down back staircases and out to a waiting van. Another team packs your few essential belongings: the film projector, the movie prints, and boxes upon boxes of your memos and documents, the paper trail of your invisible reign. You are driven to the airport, where one of your private jets is waiting, engines ready. You are loaded onto the plane, a piece of precious, fragile cargo. The flight is short and smooth. You are leaving the United States, leaving behind the jurisdiction of the federal government and the pesky Nevada Gaming Commission. You are becoming an international man of mystery. You land in Paradise Island, Bahamas. The air that hits you as the cabin door opens is thick, humid, and salty, a world away from the dry, sterile desert air you've become accustomed to. But you will not be breathing it for long. You are moved with the same speed and secrecy into your new home. An entire floor of the Britannia Beach Hotel, and the process begins anew. The drapes are drawn. The vents are taped. The air conditioning is cranked to a meat locker temperature. The new penthouse is transformed into an exact replica of the old one, a cold, dark, sterile bubble. You have simply moved your prison to a more tropical location. A common historical fact is that the Bahamas in the 1970s was a well-known tax haven, making it an attractive location for wealthy individuals and corporations. Your move there was likely motivated as much by financial and legal strategy as it was by a desire for privacy, placing your assets and your person beyond the easy reach of American authorities. Here's a more unusual detail about your new life. In the Bahamas, the hotel was not initially prepared for a guest like you. Your aides had to scramble to make the accommodations meet your exacting standards. This included a frantic, round-the-clock effort to install a massive, complex air purification system for your entire floor, a system far more advanced than what a luxury hotel would normally have. The hotel staff were baffled by these strange Americans who were essentially rebuilding the top floor. All for a guess. No one was ever allowed to see life in the Britannia Beach Hotel is much the same as it was at the Desert Inn. The routine is unbroken. You watch movies. You conduct business by phone. You write memos. You eat your simple, repetitive meals. You have changed continents, but you haven't changed your world. Your world is the room. The view from the window may have changed from desert neon to turquoise ocean, but since you never look out the window, the difference is irrelevant. It's a bit like meticulously redecorating your prison cell. The bars are still there. The isolation, however, is now even more profound. In Las Vegas, you were at the center of a city you were actively reshaping. Here, you are just a voice on the phone connected to your empire by a long underwater cable. Your aides feel the distance, too. They are further from their homes and families, more completely bound to your strange orbit. Historians still debate the true reasons for the Baja Blitz. Was it a panicked flight from perceived legal threats and the fallout of the Irving affair? Or was it a carefully planned strategic relocation to a more favorable legal and financial climate? Perhaps it was simply a manifestation of your deep-seated restlessness. The same impulse that drove you to break aviation records need to always be moving, even if, in the end, you were only moving from one dark room to another. The move to the Bahamas marks a new phase of your seclusion, exile. You are no longer the secret king of a city. You are now a castaway on a tropical island, shipwrecked in a luxury hotel suite. Even from your new tropical prison in the Bahamas, your mind often drifts back to a ghost you left behind in a hangar in California. It is your largest, most ambitious, and most misunderstood creation. It has many names. The H for Hercules, the flying lumberyard, but the world knows it as the Spruce Goose. It is a gargantuan wooden airplane, a leviathan with a wingspan wider than a football field, built to be a flying boat capable of carrying 750 fully equipped troops across the Atlantic during World War II. It is a monument to your engineering genius and your stubborn refusal to ever give up on an idea. The plane sits in a purpose-built. It costs you a fortune to maintain, over $1 million a year in 1970s money. A dedicated crew of technicians tends to it day and night, keeping its massive wooden frame from warping. Its 8 enormous engines in working order. They are the caretakers of a sleeping giant. The plane has flown only once, for about a mile, with you at the controls back in 1947. That single brief flight was enough to prove your critics wrong, to vindicate you in the face of a hostile Senate investigation that called the project a waste of taxpayer money. And then it was put away. You think about it often. From your dark room, you make phone calls to the hangar, checking on its status. You demand detailed reports on the humidity levels, the maintenance schedules. The Spruce Goose is more than just an airplane to you. It is a symbol of your legacy. It represents a time when you were in the spotlight, a hands-on builder and a daring pilot, not a recluse hiding from the world. It is the largest thing you ever built, a physical manifestation of your ego and your vision. And just like you, it is now a recluse, locked away from the world in a controlled environment. The two of you are kindred spirits, a common historical fact is that the Spruce Goose was built almost entirely of wood, specifically birch, not spruce, due to wartime restrictions on the use of aluminum. This innovative use of laminated wood was a testament to your team's engineering, creativity. The plane was, and remains, the largest flying boat ever built. Here's a more obscure and telling fact about your relationship with the plane. You insisted that the crew in Long Beach maintain the plane in a constant state of flight readiness. Even decades after its only flight, you demanded that the fuel tanks be kept full, the tires inflated, and the controls fully functional. You entertained the fantasy that one day you might fly it again. It was never to be just a museum piece. In your mind, it was always a living, breathing aircraft waiting for its pilot to return. It's a profoundly sad image, a pilot who can no longer bear to go outside, keeping his giant, unflyable plane ready for a journey it will never take. The story of the Spruce Goose is the story of your defining characteristics, your obsessive attention to detail, your willingness to pour millions into a project you believed in, and your epic stubbornness. During the war, the government contract was a challenge. After the war, when the project was obsolete and derided as Hughes' folly, your refusal to scrap it became a matter of personal pride. You had told a Senate committee that if the plane didn't fly, you would leave the country and never come back. You made it fly. You kept your word. Now, in the Bahamas, the Spruce Goose serves as a mental touchstone. When you are feeling besieged by lawyers or paranoid about germs, you can close your eyes and picture its majestic, sweeping wings. It is a reminder of your own past greatness. It is proof that you could accomplish the impossible. Ultimate trophy in your mental cabinet, a testament to a life lived on a grander scale. It's funny, in a way. You spend your days micromanaging the placement of peas on a plate, but you are still, in your soul, the man who built the biggest airplane in the world. Historians still debate the legacy of the Spruce Goose? Was it a magnificent folly? A brilliant, but ultimately useless piece of engineering that was obsolete before it ever flew? Or was it a pioneering achievement in aviation, pushing the boundaries of materials, science, and aeronautical design in ways that influenced future aircraft? The debate mirrors the debate about you. Were you a brilliant visionary or a flawed eccentric? A genius or a madman? The Spruce Goose, beautiful, enormous, and impractical, is perhaps the best metaphor for your own life. It is a masterpiece of ambition that was, in the end, perhaps too big and too strange for this world. And like you, it sits alone in the dark, waiting. While you are living the life of a hermit, obsessed with movies and microbes, your name becomes entangled in one of the most audacious and secret operations of the Cold War. You, the Invisible Man, are about to provide the perfect cover story for the Central Intelligence Agency. The project is called Aviation, and its goal is to recover a sunken Soviet nuclear submarine, the K-129, from the floor of the Pacific Ocean, 3 miles deep. The CIA needs a plausible reason to have a massive, technologically advanced ship sitting in one spot in the middle of the ocean for weeks on end. They need a cover story. They need you. The story they invent is brilliant in its absurdity. They announce that the reclusive billionaire Howard Hughes, through his Summa Corporation, is embarking on a pioneering new venture, deep-sea mining. The massive ship, purpose-built for the mission and named the Hughes Glomar Explorer, is supposedly designed to scoop up manganese nodules from the seabed. Manganese nodules are real, but the idea of mining them at that depth was, at the time, science fiction. But because it's you, the man who built the Spruce Goose, the man known for his wildly ambitious and secretive projects, the world buys it. Your reputation for eccentric genius is the perfect camouflage for a covert espionage operation. Your involvement is, of course, managed entirely at arm's length. You never visit the shipyard. You never meet the CIA agents. You simply agree to lend your name and your corporate structure to the project. Your motives are complex. It appeals to your sense of patriotism, a value you held deeply despite your reclusive nature. It also appeals to your love of secrecy, technology, and grand, impossible-sounding schemes. You are, in essence, producing one last great movie, a real-life spy thriller, and your role is to be the enigmatic backer. The Hughes Glomar Explorer is an engineering marvel, a ship built around a giant internal Betha moon pool, and a massive claw-like contraption designed to descend 3 miles. Grasp the 1,000 750-ton submarine and lift it secretly into the belly of the ship. A common historical fact is that Project Azorian was one of the most complex and expensive intelligence operations ever undertaken. A shining example of American technological prowess during the Cold War. Your role in the project gives you a strange, new relevance. While the public believes you are slowly losing your mind in a hotel room, you are secretly a key player in a high-stakes intelligence game between two superpowers. The irony is thick enough to taste. The man who uses Kleenex to open a door is helping the CIA snatch a nuclear submarine from the bottom of the ocean. It's the ultimate validation of your power from the shadows approach to life. Your greatest asset is no longer your money or your intellect. It's your reputation for being a weirdo. Here's a fascinating, lesser-known detail of the operation. To make the deep-sea mining cover story believable, your company actually had to file for and receive mining permits and even do some legitimate research into manganese nodules. They created a whole paper trail and a body of plausible scientific work to back up the fiction. The CIA and your team built an entire fake industry as a cover for one mission. The operation to raise the sub takes place in the summer of 1974. The Glomar Explorer succeeds in lifting a portion of the K-129, recovering valuable intelligence, including nuclear torpedoes and cryptographic equipment. However, during the lift, the sub breaks apart, and a significant portion of it falls back to the ocean floor. It is a partial success, but a remarkable one nonetheless. Throughout the process, you are kept informed, a disembodied voice on the phone, thousands of miles away in your dark room, monitoring your secret adventure. The story eventually breaks in the press in 1975. After the mission is complete, the phrase "we can neither confirm nor deny" enters the popular lexicon as the standard CIA response to reporters' questions about the operation, a direct result of the Glomar Explorer story. Your name is once again splashed across headlines around the world, this time not in connection with an eccentric hobby, but with daring Cold War espionage. Historians still debate how much you truly knew about the technical details of Project Azorian versus how much you were simply a willing figurehead. Were you actively involved in the planning, offering your own engineering insights from your long-distance command post? Or did you simply sign off on the idea and let the CIA and your subordinates handle the rest, enjoying the thrill of being involved without any of the risk or exposure? Regardless, the Glomar Explorer episode is a surreal chapter in your life. It proved that even at your most isolated and physically diminished, the name Howard Hughes still had the power to move mountains or, in this case, to lift submarines from the abyss. The years after the Glomar Explorer adventure are a blur of motion and decay. Your life becomes nomadic, a succession of sealed hotel rooms in different countries. You have become a man without a country, a billionaire refugee fleeing from lawsuits, tax authorities, and the phantoms in your own mind. Each move is another Baja Blitz, another secret, middle-of-the-night transfer of your frail body and the small court of aides who are your entire world. From the Bahamas, you move to Nicaragua only to be forced out by an earthquake. You then relocate to Vancouver, then back to the Bahamas, then to Acapulco, Mexico. Each new location requires the same elaborate ritual. An entire floor of a luxury hotel must be secured. The staff must be vetted, and your room must be transformed into the familiar. Sterile cocoon, the drapes blacked out, the vents taped, the air chilled. You are like a snail, carrying your shell with you wherever you go. The scenery changes, but the interior landscape remains the same bleak, lonely place. Your physical health continues its precipitous decline. You are in constant pain from your old injuries, a pain you numb with ever-increasing doses of codeine. You are addicted, and your aides are your suppliers, caught in the impossible position of wanting to help you, but being bound by your direct orders. Your diet becomes even more erratic. You barely eat. Your once powerful 6 feet 4 inches frame shrivels, and your weight drops to that of a small child. Your long, unkempt hair and beard are now streaked with gray. The handsome aviator is a distant memory, replaced by this spectral figure. Your mind, once so sharp and commanding, begins to suffer. The years of isolation, drug use, and malnutrition take their toll. Your memos become more rambling, your phone calls less coherent. You still have flashes of the old brilliance, moments where you can dissect a complex business problem with terrifying clarity. But these moments are becoming fewer and farther between. More often, you are lost in a fog of pain, paranoia, and old movies. The world outside is changing dramatically. The Vietnam War ends. Watergate topples a president. But these events are just faint whispers that barely penetrate the walls of your room. A common historical fact is that upon your death, your vast empire was thrown into chaos, because you left no clear, undisputed will. A massive legal battle erupted over your fortune, lasting for years and involving dozens of claimants, including the state of Texas, the state of California, and a gas station attendant named Melvin Dummer, who claimed you had once left him a handwritten will, making him an heir. The inner circle, your Mormon mafia, is shrinking. Some aides burn out from the 24/7 pressure and the moral strain of enabling your self-destruction. Others are pushed out as your paranoia grows. You trust fewer and fewer people. Your world, already microscopic, shrinks even further. The men who remain are trapped, their lives so intertwined with yours that they cannot leave. They are the sole witnesses to the final, tragic act of your life. Here's an obscure and heartbreaking detail from these final years. In one of your moments of lucidity, you expressed a deep sense of regret. You reportedly told an aide that you wished you had married your old flame, actress Jean Peters, and had a family, lamenting that your obsessions had cost you a normal life. It was a rare crack in the facade, a glimpse of the lonely man buried beneath the layers of myth and madness. You spend your days watching the same movies over and over. I-Station Zebra is still in heavy rotation. The films are no longer just an escape. They are your reality. The predictable plots and familiar faces are the only stable things in a world that has dissolved into pain and confusion. You are drifting, a ghost haunting a series of anonymous hotel rooms. Your once mighty empire running on the momentum you created decades earlier. You, the man who once controlled every detail, have finally lost control of the most important thing, yourself. Historians still debate the question of your final years. Who was truly in charge? Were you still the master puppeteer, albeit a diminished one, pulling the strings from your sickbed? Or had you become a prisoner of your own handlers, a valuable asset whose name was used to run an empire, while the man himself was left to wither away? The truth is likely somewhere in the murky middle. You were a king who had become a captive in his own court. Your power still immense, but your personal autonomy all but gone. The end is approaching, a slow, quiet fade-out in a dark room. Far from home, the final journey begins in Acapulco. In your penthouse suite at the Fairmont Princess Hotel. It is April 5th, 1976. Your body has finally given out. Your few remaining aides, seeing the man they have served for decades, now unresponsive, finally make a decision that overrides your long-standing orders. They decide to get you to a real hospital. They are going to take you home to Houston. The plan is executed with the usual secrecy, but now it is born of desperation. They carry your skeletal frame, weighing barely 90 pounds, to a waiting private jet. You are an unrecognizable creature. Your hair hangs down to your waist. Your beard is matted and wild, and your fingernails are like twisted claws. The aides are shocked to find broken off hypodermic needles embedded in your arms. A testament to your long, private battle with pain and addiction. You are no longer the invisible billionaire. You are a medical emergency. As the jet takes off, climbing into the sky you once commanded, you are completely unaware. You are lost in the final darkness, a place beyond even the sealed-off rooms you created for yourself. The roar of the jet engines, a sound you once orchestrated to break speed records, is now the soundtrack to your final, unconscious flight. The plane charts a course for Houston, the city where you were born, the place where your empire, Hughes Tool Company, began. You are flying a full circle, returning to the start at the very end. During the flight, you pass away. The official cause of death will be listed as kidney failure, a result of years of malnutrition, dehydration, and codeine abuse. But the real cause is more complex. You died of isolation. You died of fear. You died of being Howard Hughes. Your life, which had been a spectacle of fame and daring, ends in quiet anonymity. 30,000 feet in the air, surrounded by a handful of men who knew your secrets but could never save you. A common historical fact is that when your body arrived in Houston, you were so unrecognizable that the FBI had to use fingerprints to officially identify you. The dashing pilot in Hollywood, producer, had become a figure so alien and wasted that only a government file could confirm he was human. This detail, more than any other, captures the shocking totality of your physical and mental collapse. And here is one last strange and sad piece of trivia. The company that you built, the one that made you a billionaire, the Hughes aircraft company, would go on to create some of the most advanced technology of the 20th century. Its satellites and missile systems would help win the Cold War and revolutionize global communications. Your legacy as an engineer and innovator would long outlive the memory of the frail, frightened man in the penthouse. Your creations soared, even as their creator locked himself away. The jet lands in Houston. The story is over. The myth is now sealed. The drapes can finally be opened. But the questions remain. You were a genius, a patriot, a visionary. You were also a prisoner of your own mind, a man so terrified of the world that you built a fortress of solitude and slowly starved yourself to death inside it. Historians will forever debate the central mystery of your life. Were you in control? Or were you a victim, a man whose brilliant mind was tragically betrayed by mental illness and physical pain? Perhaps the answer is that you were both. A man who conquered the skies, but was defeated by the space between his own ears. A man who could see the future of aviation, but couldn't see a way out of a dark room. You are Howard Hughes, and now you can finally rest. The engines of the jet begin their long, low whine as the plane descends through the clouds, a gentle, final lullaby. The motion is smooth, a soft rocking, carrying you not toward a hospital in Houston, but into a deeper, calmer quiet. The chronic pain that has been your companion for decades begins to fade like a distant radio signal losing its station. The sharp edges of fear and obsession soften, blurring into a peaceful, hazy gray. There are no more memos to write, no more germs to fight, no more movies to watch. The projector has finally clicked off, its bright, anxious light replaced by a velvet darkness. You are drifting now, lighter than you have been in years, unburdened by the weight of your empire, your name, your own failing body. The long, lonely vigil is over. Let the silence be a comfort. Let the darkness be a blanket. Just relax and let go as the story comes to its soft and quiet end. Sweet dreams.